recording. Let me make sure that this other thing is working here. Thank you guys for tuning in. We so appreciate it. And let's see, what we're doing here. Hold on, let me get this going. Hold on one second.
Miss Tunua.
Hi.
Everyone say hello to each other while I get the Facebook Live part going.
Make sure our speaker's working.
Yeah, oh, let's see. Actually, I think it's coming on. So what we're doing here is we've compiled our experts, our community top financial people to help us navigate through what's happening here. We want to make sure you guys get all the information from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and then you get any questions that you have answered. And then at the end, so we'll let them speak about 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes or so. And then at the end, if you have any questions, then you can put them in the chat box on the right-hand side. And then we can ask those questions for you. And this is being recorded, so there will be a recording going out to you. And in addition to that, for those that are interested, it is actually streaming live on Facebook right now, and will be in a minute anyway. And then what else we need to know? And then any other resources, I usually send along with the recording, any backup information that anybody has shared with us that could help you, then we will make sure that's available to you as well. The whole purpose of these briefings is to make sure we're getting our firsthand information and we're on point and we're not guessing and we're not listening to rumors. Here is the way you can find out for sure what is happening, and you don't have to rely on the information that's on Facebook. And then if you have any questions, we're gonna ask them to provide their email, and you guys can send them questions, and hopefully, and you guys can email them back. So with that, Stephen Turner from the BBA, introduce yourself, Stephen. I'm Crystal Mitchell, guys. If you don't know who I am, I'm the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. I'm a business coach, and I'm the financial guru when it comes to accounting software programs, and I teach people how to do that. I have a program helping you get your financials together. So if you are applying for any of these release programs, you have the right documentation. And in addition to that, I'm the co-host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. And we generally air every Friday afternoon, but we're on a hiatus right now. But you get to still see me here. And I get to put on makeup. So Stephen, introduce yourself and talk about the BBA.
Hi, Stephen Turner. I don't have makeup on this morning. I'm the managing principal of the Slayton Group. We're a management consulting risk management firm, providing property and casualty, employee benefit. So my sweet spot is that employer, anywhere from 15 to 150 employees, helping them navigate through this particular pandemic. So Crystal, I turn it over to you, and thank you for allowing me to be one of your co-hosts.
All right.
Also, I need to add, the BBA is coming up on their 50th anniversary. Been around 500 years. It's a Black Business Association. Okay.
All righty. So, James, hello. We have a number of people down there. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm admitting people as we speak. So, so we're gonna kick it off with Sharon, because she's got a crazy day going on today, and she's got a lot of information. Then Tunua, we can come with you, and then when Ken comes on, Ken Crawford comes on from the SBA, we can follow up with him. But so Sharon is the CEO of the company Business Resource Group. They provide funding, and they're also a part of processing some of these loans. And she'll tell you more about who she is. So take it away, Sharon.
Good morning. Are we able to hear me?
Can everybody hear her? You can,
yes.
If you put down, if you can hear, just raise your hand or clap. There's some reactions at the very bottom. Hello, Jasmine. Everybody's waving, Sharon.
Good morning. Well, I'm welcome. Thank you, Crystal and Stephen and my dear friends from LA. I am happy to report Business Resource Group has been part of the Los Angeles small business ecosystem for the last 19 years. We have been one of the larger producers of minority loans with over $300 million in loans to people in all Southern California. This is yet another opportunity for us to come together and really address what is a critical undercapitalization of Black communities. I sit as the Secretary of the Board of the California Black Chamber, in addition to having previously served as the chair of the Minority Business Commission for the city of LA twice. Currently, there's so much resources to help businesses, but as you have heard in the media, African-American businesses are not receiving adequate portions of it. African-American individuals and residents are suffering and having in this pandemic and having lower levels of access to many of the resources. This is a challenge that our community has faced, but I want to bring us into reality and what I see as a pivotal challenge that we are positioned to dialogue about and bring some solution to. Right now, of the $349 million that was allocated, $1 billion that was allocated, the lion's share of those funds have been allocated or appropriated. The institutions that are in our community are working very hard to get this money out. The SBA partners, organizations like LISC, we have a myriad of our banks are on the front lines. Because of the challenges and concerns with the rollout of this product, many national, I've been on 3 calls with the White House and 2 with the SBA administrator in Washington, D.C., where we're having challenges looking at what is actually happening. So I want to be able to share some data, and I want to be able to take this moment and bring a broader outlook on strategically what our businesses are going to have to go through. This is a moment right now for survival. The PPP dollars, the stimulus dollars, the Verizon grant, the various resources that are being thrown at this are stabilization emergency dollars. And this is short term. We're talking between now and May 30th. The lion's share of the 349 has been allocated, but organizations and lenders are continuing to take applications because we anticipate a second tranche. What has happened on the national front is organizations have come together and pull to understand where the money's going. So I want to introduce you to a tool, what's called covidloantracker.com. It is a media and advocacy site that was created by national players so that we could understand what money's getting into our markets, where it's being most effective, and what does it look like. Money is not coming in 2 days. For the PPP program, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, through this site, every day, business owners that are in the process seeking money from across the nation are reporting out on where we are, and it's a crowd informational. 4% of small businesses that have applied have received PPP loans to date. That is as of yesterday, that is of 9 o'clock Eastern time this morning. Across the state, 11,000 businesses are reporting they've applied, and the average processing time is about 8.5 days. PPP loans are being made out, but the small banks by far are reporting to do 70% of the business of the PPP loans. The PPP loans are the forgivable portion of that loan that is intended to cover payroll. And JP Morgan Chase is reporting at about 10% of loans. My first client to be funded on this was funded on the 7th. Remember, the application period opened on the 3rd, and it was a JP Morgan Chase loan. So but JP Morgan Chase is only funding companies that have existing loans with that bank. Same with Bank of America, the same with Wells Fargo, and the same with many of our bigger banks. Our team at Business Resource Group has compiled a master database focused on the Southern California market, particularly Los Angeles, with 113 lenders and resources. And we're going to be publishing that on our website, and it should go live on Friday, tomorrow. 30% of PPP dollar applications are coming out of California. I got to give our credit to our SBDCs and our partners because they're getting it done. However, that does not translate to dollars in pocket. And I want to caution us because I want to bring to the table, there is a dual track that's necessary. If you have employees, you are eligible under that protection program through April, when you could have applied on April 3rd. If you are a gig worker, self-employed, 1099, or what have you, that opened up on the 10th. Processes are different, and not everybody is doing both types. What I will encourage our community, if you don't have a local lender, if your bank is not lending, go to a nonprofit intermediary, hit a regional bank. The regional banks are able to get this done. Even some of our online lenders, Cabbage is processing in 4 days. But it is only for the PPP dollars. I would encourage our businesses to concurrently apply for the economic industry disaster dollars, because the average loans that's coming out of there's a grant that actually will come along with that if you are declined. And the average grant side that's being reported nationally right now is about $6,000. $6,000 coupled with a PPP can make a difference for our businesses. 74% of the 11,000 companies that are reporting are coming out of California. So we know we are home to gig workers, and we know that there's been some significant impact. I want to understand that the resources are there. New resources are coming online every day. Grant programs, thank you list, Facebook stuff starts this week. There are a lot of resources at the table. The County of Los Angeles opened up a $28 million commitment, of which the county put $12 million in yesterday. Applications became live for less than 48 hours ago, and that will allow those that don't have a banking relationship to be able to go and access those funds. So resources is there. It's coming out of the Department of Business Oversight, the Office of Disaster Assistance for the County of Los Angeles. And if you do not have a link, you can go to Mark Ridley Thomas's website and you can link straight from there. I now want to take a quick pivot and caution you on a concern that I think the African American business community needs to rally around.
So Sharon, I'm sorry to interrupt. Ken Crawford just got on the line and he has a time commitment. Can we just allocate, Ken, can you share insight on the federal level about the SBA, and then we bring it back to Sharon?
Sharon?
Yes.
Did you hear Stephen?
I said, absolutely. Well, good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Ken. Thank you for dropping in on us. We appreciate it. Can you get some insight to what Sharon was just saying? I think you were there long enough to hear that part. Hello, Ken. Hello, Ken.
Sharon, go continue. Ken was having some problems.
Yeah, we must have gotten lost. Sorry, Sharon. Go ahead.
It's very important that our businesses at this moment, that our community looks at where there are opportunities to influence or adapt these programs to create more equity and inclusivity by our business community. Effective January 1st, Assembly Bill 5 came into effect in California. AB 5 was the bill that asked employers to mandate and reclassify individuals from independent contractors into employees under the Dynamex decision. This affects the African American community significantly because our sole proprietors and our businesses that work in service, in hair care, in personal service, that have traditionally had workers as independents were required to classify them January 1st as employees. The current infrastructure around the payroll protection program, eligibility to participate in the forgivable portion of those loans, utilize a calculation that calls for a look back on 2019 payroll. If you are an existing business and not seasonal, they will pull your 2019 941 payroll to determine what portion of that loan might be forgivable, plus some adjustments for rents and other expenses that you have. The potential impact that has not been looked at is companies that took independent contractors in 2019 complied with the Dynamex decision and Assembly Bill 5 and brought people onto payroll in January. Our company brought 4 of our independents onto payroll in January, and we paid them throughout the entire first quarter as employees with payroll taxes and the like. Those employee wages are not eligible to be included in the funds as we're trying to calculate how much we're eligible for. So for African American companies that that previously were heavily concentrated service, our barbershops, many of our car washes that had independent people just out there working and they brought them on the payroll, we need some advocacy, and we need to look at how we can adapt solutions, because new hires came on board in January, and the funds that are available are based on sustaining that employment, and the new increased employee aren't eligible. So it is a factor of advocacy. I'm encouraging our businesses, those of us that are part of the advocacy community, and I see 6 organizations, people that represent advocacy groups on this call, to formulate and let's call for data to be able to look at how that's affecting our community. Because what if we had an addition in California for those particular types of situations? Our companies would have access to not only larger amounts of funds, but they would have access to larger portions of forgivable funds. With that, I'm going to relinquish this and say there are resources that are changing every single day, and it is about speed. So if there's no payroll information, if you haven't identified a gig economy loan, if you haven't been able to identify resources, raise your hand, call for support, because the resources are going to run out. And even with the second tranche of the $250 million that's being looked at the federal level, it is really only going to last probably another 60 days. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Appreciate that. And I think this is a good time for Ken to jump in to add whatever updates have come in from the SBA. And Sharon, I absolutely agree with you. And there are a number of us on the call. Brian from the Urban League. There's somebody from GLAC that's on, Chanel. So we need to all have that conversation, and we'll have that conversation offline. So turning it over to you, Ken. We're going to unmute you. Hi, Ken. Is he there? Hello, Ken.
They will contact you.
Okay, he's not there. So we're going to turn it over to Tunua until Ken is available to talk about the program and where we are right now with the Verizon program. I've heard that they reached their max.
Yeah.
And if you can tell us if there's more coming. I thought I had heard there were more coming on April 22nd, but if you could kind of run through that for us as another opportunity and option for us.
Well, thanks for having me today, Crystal. Great to see so many folks on the line today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tunua Thrash-Nik. I'm the executive director now for the LISC, Local Initiative Support Corporation for the Los Angeles market. Our work is primarily in LA County, but I do work in Orange County, and we do work as well in the Inland Empire. We are one of many community development financial institutions from across the country. We're a national organization in scope, 35 offices. I oversee Los Angeles. Today, I'm happy to talk about the Verizon program, what it is and what the next opening will be. I want to tell you about a webinar that LISC will host next week, sharing more information about grants and other support. I'll talk a little bit about our Kiva partnership, as well as a program that hopefully we'll be able to announce next week that is some additional grants that'll be made available specifically to businesses in neighborhoods, because it's all about how do we keep our mom and pop shops in neighborhoods open, how do we keep neighborhood businesses thriving as we wait for this federal support. And then finally, I'll say, Sharon did mention there are some banks that have allocations for PPP, but if you go to the SBA website right now, it's very clear that this initial of 349 billion has already been allocated. So if you have an application in, sit tight, and if you don't, I'll talk a little bit about that going forward in part 2. So let's start with the Verizon program. So nationally, LISC opened up in partnership with Verizon a portal to provide grants up to $10,000 for small businesses. Our first round, we received 55,000 applications. Los Angeles did really well. The folks who did not receive an allocation in LA have been notified, and those who are actually on the verge of receiving their $10,000 grants received notification. And we have asked them to return some additional documentation that we will use to verify their business. And then before the end of the month, it's depending on how quickly people are able to move, they will get those dollars into their accounts. There are a number of businesses in South LA, a number of Black-owned businesses that are part of that, and I look forward to being able to share who those businesses were. Many of them as well were home-based businesses because we opened this up to businesses of all sizes. You didn't have to necessarily have a storefront, and we also opened it up to nonprofit organizations. The next round will open at the end of the day tomorrow. That's the plan. If you want to be on the list to find out, when it opens up, please go to our website, which is www.lisc.org/Los-Angeles. I'll put that in the chat box as well, so you have that. And on our page, you'll find a COVID-19 resource page. On that page, you'll find the link to the Verizon program, and you can sign up to find out as soon as we open up the portal. This time, the portal will stay open a little bit longer. And so that means we may get more applications. Part of the second round, in order to make that possible, we are helping Verizon tweet about their live events that they're hosting Tuesday and Thursday evenings. For every tweet that mentions, Verizon Live, and that you tag a small business in, that you would mention a small business in, Verizon is donating $10 towards this fund. So our goal is to get another 2.5 million, and tweeting this evening. Luke Bryan is tonight's singer. Last week it was Alicia Keys. And so just kind of watch our postings around that. Next week, Wednesday, April 22nd at 9 a.m., I will be hosting a webinar where we will have several corporations on, including Facebook. They'll come on and talk about their grant program that they're making available to small businesses across the country. LA is one of their markets. Verizon will be on. We will also be able to talk about the Keep the Business on the Block program that LISC and Wells Fargo are announcing, where we'll be giving away small grants as well. And we also expect to have the County of Los Angeles who will come on and talk about some of their programs that they've made available as well, both in grants as well as low-cost loans. Next, we hope to be able to announce next week as well. Again, as you're waiting on federal resources, we know that businesses need capital right now. We have a partnership with Kiva. And in that partnership, we are accelerating your Kiva campaign, which is a crowdfunding network. We have trustees like the Urban League and others who are helping to identify businesses that are interested in this crowdfunding platform strategy. Excuse me, as you go out and are interested in raising, let's say $10,000, excuse me, platform, then you will be able to, as you raise the $5,000, we will match that dollar for dollar, $5,000, 0% interest, 0% fee, no payment for 6 months. But the goal is to try to, over the next year or 2 years, to pay those funds back. We are going to be targeting food-based businesses with that, and businesses that are in food deserts in particular. There is an acute shortage of food opportunities for people in communities, so we want to make sure that folks are able to continue to access food in community. And then finally, I'll say, yes, PPP, is exhausted at this point. Hopefully the federal government moves quickly to get round 2 in. We're hearing about round 3 and round 4 as well, but there is no guarantee of that. On our website, on the LISC website, the LISC Los Angeles website, on that COVID-19 page, what we've done is based on, is up to date as we can, but things are moving very quickly. But we have a listing of all of the financial institutions and what we understand as to who is still accepting applications. There's a link to everybody's website, and we hope to continue to update that several times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So, take a look at that as a resource. It's a quick link out to your bank, to another regional bank, kind of like what Sharon was saying, places maybe you had never heard of before who could potentially still have some allocation left. And with that, I will stop and I'll put in the chat box our web address. Happy to take any questions.
Anyone have any questions? This is a time for you to ask. And that's it. Sharon, you're still there, so you can ask questions. Ken, if they have questions of you, I know you're having technical problems. Can we just type them into the chat box and then you can respond back through typing back to us, and we'll see if we can get yours addressed. So anyone have any questions that you would like to ask? I have a question for either one of you. So I know LISC was addressing the need of nonprofits. Sharon, are there any other out there that can help the small nonprofit that may not have, they have volunteers versus a payroll, but they do have other expenses. So can anyone address that question?
Tunua, the EIDL program, which does allow for both nonprofit and for-profit, and that is a benefit to our nonprofits, because those funds, although they are being capped at $15,000 per company right now, that fund does still allow that forgivable grant to come out when you apply. And so that is a very important strategy for a nonprofit. There are a series of major corporations and foundations that are leading nonprofit funds. I think there's a couple convenings from the Center for Nonprofit Management, and then there's another group that Wells Fargo is actually funding a program just for nonprofits run up by a group out of the San Fernando Valley. On tomorrow, BRG at bizresourcegroup.com, we will be putting a master list, and we have gone back through our 113 capital sources that are most immediately and separated it so that it is searchable for nonprofits versus for-profits. So that's a resource that we will make available. It'll be on the website tomorrow. They're just doing a double check because I think we found 4 additional funds last night.
Okay, that's excellent. Anyone else have any questions? I know, let me unmute you, Lula. Okay. Or unmute yourself there. Why am I having difficulty?
Oh, okay.
There
Can
you
you
go.
hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my question for Sharon, is there any other resources for nonprofit groups like who are being impacted by AB5 and the COVID-19 issue here? Because it seems like it's a catch-22 for us. Since I'm hearing that they're going to go back into 2019 to see if you have actually applied, have actually been doing that. And for a lot of cultural arts groups that are nonprofit, that really is extremely difficult to maintain. So are there any grants available anywhere? Are there any resources that we could be directed to?
I'm gonna pitch this one, and I'm gonna say this whole discussion around the implications of AB5 coupled with COVID-related resources is something that, as I analyzed, and I've been on briefings, I don't know the White House, but with a few law firms, as I looked at, I saw this as a concern, and I really have not seen others bringing this up. It is only through a couple of organizations that we were processing requests for, particular in the Black community, when we saw the onboarding of employees, for example, our beauty and barbershops, at January, and we recognized they weren't going to get credit for that first quarter wages. So I believe at this point, I don't know of any other organization that is championing this issue. I have sat on the board of the Business Federation of Los Angeles, as well as the California Black Chamber, and it's something that we will be taking up in our advocacy board meeting. But there are nonprofit resources, and they typically will support payroll, even independent. The idea will even cover independent contractor costs as well as rent and other overheads. Again, we're only focused right now. Most of the market is only focused on immediate remediation and solving the issue. We still haven't even begun the conversation about stabilization and recovery, which is where we're going to have to engage on. I'm going to pitch to Tunua, because Tunua, you're in this space and a leader in this space as well. And from an advocacy standpoint, I think we do have to look at the data and make sure that we are looking at the impact, and we can champion resources based on impact.
Well, I'm sorry. What I usually find is that there's no one really championing anything for the cultural arts who not even looked at as small businesses in many situations. So we're kind of like not represented anywhere. And for most of the nonprofit dance organizations that I work with, this is devastating, AB5. And on top of what's happening with having to close down and shut your businesses down, it's no one's speaking for us. And nor is anyone looking at it from our point of view. We're not making money either. We can't earn a penny. We can't pay for anything because everything is closed down. And so I'm just wondering, at what point will someone, every time there's a major disaster in the community, the arts are the very last thing to be looked at, if they're looked at at all. And we're not looked at as an entity that's important or to the survival of community or of humanity, in which we very much play instrumental roles in that. And in the
thank
culture.
you.
I'm super glad you.
So we're gonna let definitely Tunua speak on that, but James Burke is on the line as well. And last week I spoke on, there are a number of grants that are out there for the art community. They originated out of the San Francisco area. I will make sure you get that, but we're gonna let Tunua speak on that. And James, maybe you may have something that you can add on, or you may know some resources after Tunua speaks.
So
Go ahead.
First of all, thank you so much for bringing that up, Lula. I'm glad you're here to talk about this. I just had a conversation yesterday with some folks working with the CAA to try and figure out how do we pull some of those resources down into community. So, you know, it's critical that you are here to share this. I have a couple questions for you, because part of what I want to make sure I understand is that because of AB5, you decided did you bring people in the first part of the year as employees for the Little Washington Dance Theater? Is that what you're concerned about? The fact that you brought them in as employees? I don't know. Is that what happened?
Well, not exactly. And
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything else.
Okay. So then a couple things to keep in mind. Whatever your payroll was for 2019, you understand with PPP that you are eligible and that you should have applying for that. Not only is it your total payroll, but of course it's 2.5 times your payroll that you would have been eligible for in terms of being able to draw down those resources. And then as far as if you do have independent contractors that, relying on you to be in operation, of course, they themselves are eligible for the PPP, and they are potentially eligible for additional funds through the unemployment department so that they can continue to maintain themselves as independent workers, that the policy allows for that. So it's not clear to me if, whatever your payroll was last year, you get that and some. You spend that on employees that you potentially want to bring back as employees, you can get that forgiven. And those who are not employees and are classified as independent contractors have themselves the opportunity to apply for PPP and or apply for state unemployment to sustain themselves in the interim. And as far as grants, I'm going to tell you it's a mixed bag out there in terms of what the what foundations are doing. I'm finding some foundations are retreating and they are looking at their own balance sheets and saying they're not going to be doing even what they were doing in the best of times, and others that are starting to pull together. And I'm still waiting and wanting the group of foundations that said that they're coming together to really announce what those resources are going to be for. You're right, we've got to do more to put the arts at the top, because right now it's food, it's transportation, it's healthcare support as the areas where I see the most activity being put forth regarding grant opportunities.
Thank you so much. And Sharon just put in the chat box, and I will make sure everyone gets a listing of that. There is a list of opportunities or grants for those in the arts that have resources for art organizations. So I will send this over to you. And Lula and I think Ardina is an artist, is on the line as well. And then please share it with everyone in the arts. And as she said, everyone should be applying for the unemployment. And then some people I know have been getting their stimulus if they had paid their taxes, and if they were filed online for their taxes, then I know a number of people have already gotten their stimulus. There's some questions around that, which we will have to ask somebody else about that. So I hope that answered your question. And James, do you have any input on that? So wait a minute, I can't hear. Can you? Okay, there you go, James.
The Cultural Affairs Department has a list of artist stimulant packages. So, and they've been working diligently on it. In fact, we have another conference called tomorrow, and we can find out more. But Lula, you've been working with Ben Johnson. I would suggest you contact Ben Johnson regarding the dance companies. We're trying to do some things in Leimert Park. And Tunua, I got a question for you. Because I try to work at partnerships with a number of groups so we can support some of the arts organizations in Leimert Park. The funds that are available for the arts, Lula's correct, that whenever we have a major calamity in this city, the arts are the first organization we call to try to smooth things over, create harmony in our community. But generally, there's never a concerted effort to try to support these groups. And so with dance companies not having students and not having use of their spaces,
puts them at a real hardship. So in Leimert Park, there are several businesses that are private businesses that are partnering with the arts organizations. Can they apply for some of the funds that are out there as a collective?
Okay, so that answered that. Anyone else have any questions? And I think this is an excellent time. One of the things that I see, and I've known this for a very, very long time, and that's why I try to collaborate with everybody, is because this is a time for us in the Black community, African American community, whatever you want to call us. We have to come together, guys, because if we can do things in blocks, for block grants, if we can do things like that, then we can allocate. We have to create our own environment that we can take care of our own. As you can see, we're so small that it takes us a lot longer to gear up to be able to be helped in these situations. So if nothing else good is going to come out of this whole COVID-19 thing, is this is the time for us to start taking care of our own communities and all aspects of our communities, because we have very unique problems that are akin to just us. And nobody understands that better than those of us that run community-based organizations in our community. We have heard everything. I heard a young lady tell me yesterday, in order to keep her employees, she's working as a private duty nurse and taking that money to keep her employees around. So she's sacrificing her own home in order to make sure that she can help some of those that are in our community. So we got to rise up in this instance, and not just do this because of this particular crisis, but for every crisis. And I know hopefully everybody's on the same page with me. This is the time for the Black community to come together and put all our stuff aside and realize that we have to help our own people. And now I'll get off that soapbox. Anybody else has any other questions that they'd like to ask? This is your time. We got about 10-15 minutes. And as you can see, Sharon is sharing the screen. Hopefully you guys can see it. She's showing you some resources, and she's putting them in the chat box, and then I will get some information and I'll take that chat box and send it to you. So these will be the links. I will forward the links that I provided for those that are new to the briefing today. I will provide that. So really, in actuality, there are a lot of resources. We just have to use this time and benefit from the information and put it in place. So every one of these, including the one that the city had yesterday, is requiring you to provide documentation. Sharon, maybe you can talk on this. I know I had, and I think last week, Gregory Sneed was on, that we have to have some backup data for those that are going to have the forgiven loans. So that would be P&Ls and balance sheets to show that the money was being specifically used for what it was earmarked for. Will the same thing be required, Tunua, for any of the grants?
For the Horizon grant, the initial documentation is fairly simple and straightforward. Again, this is really all about, your stated experience as a business owner. If you are selected in the process and are a potential winner, you'll be asked for, basic business tax ID information in order to determine that. Those are sort of the main things, and we just do a verification. This is Justice here.
Oh, hey, Justice, he's in the basket. Okay, anybody have any more questions? Lula?
I have one more question. I just want to make sure that I'm clear and understanding that, because a lot of the people that we work with, they receive 1099s. So we were under the impression before that they could not apply for unemployment because they get 1099s, but you're saying yes, that they can?
Yes, they can. Under the national legislation, there is a recognition that the economy has shifted, and there are a lot of workers who receive 1099 who now, because of this crisis, are not able to work. They are eligible for unemployment, so they should apply.
So we should tell them to go ahead and apply. for as a 1099.
Right.
Lula, so I applied as well, and at the back of the application, it will ask you a question. Do you work for someone, or are you self-employed? And then I'll ask you a series of questions that's specific to you. It's then going to come back and ask you, why are you, has your business changed? What have you lost, in the way of compensation? And then it will ask you, and why, and then you say COVID or a disaster, and then it goes from there. As of yet, I haven't gotten, I applied about a week and a half ago, so I haven't gotten a response back, but I do know individuals are getting a response, and you get the $600 from the federal stimulus in addition to whatever. Now, I'm not quite sure from the employee standpoint. Usually your employers are already there. They kind of have an idea of what your how much you're making, so they can come back with a calculation. I'm not quite sure how they're going to do for the self-employed, but as soon as I find out, I will definitely let y'all know when I get my response as well. So, but I would say apply.
These are barbers, hairstylists, people in our communities who make their living that way are eligible.
Okay, and then you should have, I know a number of people have gotten the $1,200 stimulus. If you, like I said, if you filed online, if you haven't filed online, then that means you're probably going to get it in the mail. Those checks are being signed by the illustrious leader, and so that might take a little minute. So just know that, but we'll see what happens. But that, yeah, so you can file online. So Ardina, I think you asked that question. Everybody, if you are in a self-employed type of 1099 type of environment, gig counter environment, you should be applying. You should share that information. Guys, this information is not just for you. I want you to go out and share. When I send you the recording, please share it with everyone. We want to make sure everyone gets the information and nobody's left behind if they don't have to be. And they definitely shouldn't be because they didn't know. We're in agreement there. So let's make sure we share the resources. Tunua, if you have any information that you can send over to me, then I'll make sure everyone gets it out. So let me see, I think there's another question that just popped up. Okay, Brian signing off. Thank you, Brian. So thank you guys. We still got a few minutes. So what we're gonna do in this last little few minutes, if no one else has any questions.
I have a sneak peek. I'm not allowed to speak about it publicly, but we have another grant program that we will be able to announce with another national company. It is a retail-based company, and that announcement will happen on Monday. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, and if you could get that over to me, I can make sure everybody gets that.
Great.
So here, what we're gonna do for our last little few minutes, if you have anything, so you guys, I'm the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. So it's all about us taking care of ourselves and sharing what we have. So if you have any programs that you would, that are online, that are COVID friendly, social distance friendly, you can at this point tell us about them. I do, if you need your financials done, I have a package that's $49 teaching you how to use a free accounting software that I found. And I can get you up and running. I'm going to train you how to do it. Then you can put together your financials. And this is where we're going in the future. You're going to have, we're going to have to start running businesses the way we need to run businesses. So no longer fighting that stuff. We just got to take care of what we have to take care of. So I have that package and a number of online classes that are going to be going on, because if nothing else, we know that we are going to have to create multiple streams of income, because one income can be shut off in a blink of an eye, as we saw on, what is it, March 15th and March 20th. And it just totally shut you down. So we're going to be working toward how to create streams of income through digital entrepreneurship, so that you can have other monies coming in. Because anybody in tech world, they're really not suffering right now, or not technically anyway. But so we want to do that. So anybody else? To Lula, I think you have something you wanted to make an announcement.
Ours is fundraising for us, for the organization, and it's a flyer that I can send out, and maybe you could share it if anyone would like to make a donation to us, because everything has ceased. But I would like to say thank you for this opportunity to hear the wonderful speakers and to learn some new information that I can then share with others in my field, which is what I said, definitely needs people to speak up on our behalf, because we're not in the circles that you guys are in. And like I said, people don't normally think about us. When they did the AB5 bill, they did not think about, they thought about one particular part of the art industry, but not the total field of art itself. So not the performing arts. And so there are highs and lows in every profession. And the modern dance field, particularly here in Los Angeles and actually around the world, we're not all the top companies. We are prominent in our areas, but we don't get the same type of recognition when it comes to things like this. And so, yes, there is funding through the city cultural affairs, but it's not in the area, it's not in the amount that you really need, but it is something for our individual artists that we can try to help them get and steer them to. But we need the same type of stimulus in the $25,000 range and up, like some of the other businesses are able to get. And so, but thank you for the opportunity to say it. And thank you to all of you for sharing that information.
You are so welcome. Anyone else have anything that they like to share? I think it's a good idea. Tunua just mentioned it, that if you've never, this might be a good time to do a crowdfund, to reach out to your customers is a good way to keep connected with your customers. I think we all should be connected with them. This shouldn't be a time to be shut down and not interacting with your customers. This is the time to be reaching out. So you should be sending out texts and maybe flyers on what you will have planned. We need to be kind of positive that we are going to come back. And that we need their help. So this might be a good idea. There's a number of matching fund type of crowd funds out there. I think GoFundMe has a matching fund that's happening. So they'll match, if you raise 500, they'll provide you with 500. So I sent that out a couple weeks ago. And so you want to look into GoFundMe, use your network to help you reach out to your customers, maybe provide them with a free something or another. They don't have to be, your enticements don't have to, or incentives don't have to be earth shattering or a bank breaking, but maybe a few minutes with you or postcard or something. So you just have to, right now we have to be creative, guys. We just have to be creative. I think that's very important, using all our creativity. I think there was a couple of questions about payroll. Melanie asked if you didn't have money in the fund. I think if you didn't have money in the unemployment fund, and Sharon, you can tap into this for me, and we got 5 more minutes. I believe for sure the $600 will come in that way. So Sharon, if you are 1099 and don't have any funds out there available for you, if you've not worked for a company, how exactly are they doing that? Does anybody have an answer? And if not, I will try to find that answer for you. Okay, so I will reach out. There was someone that was supposed to be on today from EDD. I'm going to try to get her on next week. Somebody that can answer to address those questions specifically, because we don't want to guess at those. Anybody else? Anything else? Hello, Harold. Hello, Darrell. Hello, everyone. Anybody want to share anything? Because this is your moment. All right.
I like to thank the panelists for their insightful comments. I know that this is unprecedented time, but we'll get through this, and as we work together, we'll find solutions.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Tunua. Thank you, Sharon. Ken, thank you for tapping in.
No problem.
To you, because you have more information as well. We do appreciate it, guys. We're all in this together, and I can't tell you. Let me see, there's one question, how appreciative. Let's see, Michelle says, I missed most of the session. Did you speak on the PUA, unemployment businesses for self-employed, It opens on Tuesday, April 28th. Does anybody know anything about the PUA? Okay, so we'll find that out for you, Sharon. We'll find that out for you. Let's see, Linda had a question. Her question was, oh, and Sharon, I think you answered this, but if you can again, she wants to know, she did not run payroll in 2018, but she did run it for the full year of 2019. Will I be eligible to apply for the payroll loan grant?
Absolutely. It is based upon the 2019 payroll. If you are not a seasonal business, you will take your entire average payroll for the 12 months of 2019. If you are a seasonal business, then there are 2 other options that you can select. But if it does not go back to 2018, and if you are a startup business and you just started your business, then the period you are allowed to use the first quarter of 2020 to determine your wage base.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's give everybody, our speakers, a great round of applause. Thank you guys so much for helping us out here. And next week we'll be back. We'll have some more people, and we'll be back with more updates, because as you can see, things change every 10 seconds. Things are changing now as we speak.
Thank you, the panelists, with very good information.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so guys, I will send out the recording to you and the chat box links and information. Tunua, I think, did you put your web information there? Sharon, did you put it there? Alrighty, and so we'll get that all to you guys. Thank you guys, appreciate you. Go out and tell everybody.
Thank
Be
you.
safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, be safe, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Okay.